I'm talking about autonomous vehicles, if you hadn't already guessed. And a year ago, I was presenting on this subject, and I was the last act on the last day, and no one was particularly interested in this subject. But I've stuck at it doggedly. It's coming, and I really appreciate the fact that so many of the speakers earlier today mentioned the subject, and it's on the radar now in a big way. You can see from the slide here, I've got an affiliation with Driverless Car HQ. They're on Facebook. It's one of my best sources for research. I'm certain if some people in your organisation spent half their day on Facebook or LinkedIn, you might sack them. But it's how I'm learning about this amazing subject. So, warning, credibility gap. I want to move people along these steps on the right there. I would like to move you, if you're unaware of this technology, I want you to move you to informed, from informed to challenged, from challenged to excited, from excited to active. Typically it takes people about 2 months, having first heard this talk, to even move from unaware to informed, because it's just so Jetsons-like. I hear this so many times. But this technology is very real, it's happening, and the sooner we cross that credibility gap, the better. So the big question, is there a technology freight train coming? I believe there is. I believe that many of you will have been in meetings where you're discussing the future beyond about 5 years' time, and without realizing it, you will not have known that there was an elephant in the room. Many of the plans that we are making now for anything beyond 5 years could be significantly impacted, if not disrupted. So I'll leave you to decide whether there truly is an elephant in the room in your next set of conversations. So a bit of background. I think this is really important to understand where technology is going. You've got to understand Moore's law. And Moore's law is really quite simple. Every 2 years, the number of transistors on a chip doubles. Okay, that doesn't sound like much. And when you look at the early years, it's almost flat. Okay, and then we hit that curve section, and we are, as a planet, we are emerging from that curve section, and we are now heading uphill. We are heading steeply uphill on the technology curve. That's really important to understand this. Artificial intelligence is also moving up that curve. But basically, we've got cell phones in our pockets, smartphones, that use artificial intelligence technology to interpret our speech and carry out simple commands. 10 years ago, we had to program these things with our voice, and it would take several months of training, and you could get it to recognize your voice. These days, you can just pick one up, and it'll understand you. That's artificial intelligence. It's in its baby steps, but what I'm going to show you is way beyond that. So the gauntlet has been thrown down as far as I'm concerned. There was a great article in Freakonomics, and if you're familiar with their work, they do some really challenging stuff about how the world works and how we should look at things in a different way. And they've thrown this challenge down, and they said surprisingly few people, even within the transportation world, are talking about this pending revolution. Okay, and I want to pick that challenge up. Now, these are questions I put to the Institute of Transportation Engineers on my blog that I do with them, but I'll put it to everyone at CCMTA and Transport Canada in particular. What are we as a profession doing about preparing for the biggest revolution that we have seen on our road network since the invention of the car some 130 years ago? Why have we not already started to plan for this inevitable paradigm shift that will not transform not just our roads, but society as well? And what should we do to prepare? So, as the cartoon says, oh no, paradigm shift. Well, I'm taking a glass half full approach to this technology. I believe we're on the cusp of a technological tidal wave that will result in this paradigm shift. Now, paradigm shift is a fundamental change in underlying beliefs or theories. And it's only as we cross the paradigm shift, as we understand the paradigm shift, I think that we will begin to understand what's going on. So paradigm shifts. In the telecoms industry, we are very used to paradigm shifts. So at the same date that the car was invented, we had the first paradigm shift in telecoms in modern history, from the landline to the landline replaces the telegraph. And then 97 years later, that's how long it took for the first paradigm shift, we had the first cell phone. But then it was only 23 years from the cell phone to the smartphone. From the smartphone to the iPhone and the apps, which really give the smartphone value, that was 11 years. And then 3 years for the social media revolution to kick in after that. And already now we're looking for the next paradigm shift, which will be Google Glass, if you've come across that. Just quick show of hands, is anyone familiar with Google Glass? Okay, there's a few of you. Basically, we're trying to bring the technology closer and closer to our brain, and so what they've got is they've got these glasses. It's just a small section. You have to look upwards to the right to access it, but it overlays information of the real world there for you. It takes photos, and you don't need an earpiece. It actually uses bone conduction for you to hear through it. It's bringing the internet closer and closer, and it's a major thing that CCMTA will have to deal with in terms of road safety. I mean, is it Virginia is already seeking to ban Google Glass?